En este momento inicia su programa Los Vientos del Saber con Carmen Piñeyro. Abordaremos temas de política, inmigración, finanzas, educación y muchos temas de interés para la comunidad. Puedes participar en vivo llamando al 1-888-900-2811 extensión 6. ¡Comenzamos!
All right, good evening, my Freeport family, and welcome to another night of Sunday Night Live. We are live, so please like and share. Tell a friend, tell a neighbor that we are here, and it is part 2 with the Alliance for Freeport team. We apologize for all of the technical difficulties that we've experienced on last week. The conversation was so good. We have over 200 people watching. And so I want to make sure that we give those persons on this tickets their due diligence and respect to be able to share their stance, their platform, why are they running? How do they plan to help Freeport, support Freeport, make Freeport a better place? And I mean, last week was just so great. But I don't know if it was the Russians or if it was people in the village or I don't know. I don't know who or what it was, but it actually happened to my election on last Tuesday. And so therefore our election is rescheduled, but that's another time, another topic. So I yet remain a candidate for the church stuff, but come on in. I want to definitely welcome all of our guests. How is everybody doing? Let's check in. How's everybody? Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday.
All right, we got to get the energy flowing. I know it's been one of those days. The village of Freeport is definitely in mourning today by the passing and the transition of our beloved leader. That's what I'm going to call him because he was definitely that, a beloved leader, teacher, mentor, school administrator, board member of the school board. He was it. He was everything. He was everything. Mr. Kite was one of those you can go to for every type of situation, whether it was school, whether it was finance, whether it was choosing the right college to go to. Of course, we know sports, whether it was just a word of wisdom or something that you didn't even want to hear. Because I know plenty of times I went to him and he looked at me and gave me that look that he get with that squinting face and be like, Hedgepeth, go back to class. I'm like, but Mr. Kite, you know, I've been here a long time. I already know what you're going to say, right? So he was one of those type of persons who was definitely and truly a mentor to me, a role model, an example, who has just, yes. Dawn.
I'm sorry, Dexter, people are texting me that it's not public, that the show is not public, that only your friends can see it.
Hold on, stand by. Thank you. Let's make this public. All right. There we go. All right, like and share, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Please like and share for our Sunday Night Live. And so we were just talking about Mr. Kite and the major impact that he had on the village of Freeport. I know we talk about the Freeport school system, but it takes a village to raise a child, and he was the epitome of a strong Black man who raised everybody. He had no respect of a person, whether you were Caucasian, whether you was Hispanic, whether you was African American, whether you was Asian. Mr. Kite was always there. One of those persons who had an open door policy, and he meant it, an open door policy, and he would cut your hand if you tried to close the door on any of those young persons that needed help and needed his attention. And so any of the panelists want to share any words? We send our prayers, our condolences to the entire family, to the entire school board, to the Ladies Red Devil, to all Freeport public schools, to the village of Freeport. Our prayers and condolences are with you. I had to go find a red jumpsuit. Y'all know I was dressed last week, but this is in memory of Mr. Kite. I should have a Freeport on the logo, but somebody need to get me a Freeport jumpsuit because I should have one. So that's why I'm in my red, white, and my black a little bit, because this is what it's all about, right? This is what it's all about. And I'm not going to go off on a tangent. I know where I'm at, but I have to give honor where honor is due. And right now it's due to Mr. Kite. But this is why it's so important that we can't allow elected officials to not celebrate Black History Month. Have a man like Mr. Kite who has saved the lives of so many, who have helped so many go and get an education, who have helped so many go and get a scholarship to pay for an education. We cannot afford to have elected officials in office who do not celebrate people like Mr. Kite. And so if you want to know why I'm mad about Freeport not having a Black History program, it's because of people like Mr. Kite who do work for years, never look for citations, never look for proclamation, but do it because it's in their blood, it's in their heart, it's in their spirit to do it. And we should be willing to honor someone like him in today's generation. All right, I'm sorry. Any of the
I just want to jump in. We did actually celebrate it and recognize Mr. Kite a few years back in the village Black History Month celebration. It's been a very tough day for me today. I am very emotional. Besides my parents, Mr. Kite was like a dad to me, and a grandfather to my children. And so if you guys see me break down in the middle of a speech, just bear with me. It's a very tough day, but one of the lessons that he taught us growing up and being in the high school is that, in the midst of adversity, you have to find the strength to continue to move on. And I know he wanted to make sure that I'm here in front of everyone to make sure we get the Alliance for Freeport message out to those voters that have not heard, that don't know what our platform is, that don't know why I'm running for mayor, that they don't know why Donna or Dawn are running for village trustee, and why Tim is running for village justice. We owe it to him, we owe it to the community, but we also owe it to his legacy. I just grinned when you were saying that he would catch you in the hallway and just give you the eye look, and you're like, all right, I'm getting to class. I got 1 minute to the bell, or being in like double overtime against Port Washington, and him just like, you gotta dig deep and find that extra, to make sure we can win in double overtime. And I can go on to talk about things like that. But for me, it was my junior year in high school. I had not taken my SATs, and he was like, child, what are you waiting for? How are you going to get into college? So I am a professional today because he made sure me and other of my teammates actually ended up taking the SATs, and I'm successful today because of his push and other people, Miss Hen, and so forth. So we're in true mourning today, and salutes off to Mr. Kai, Miss Diane, Mrs. Kite, Chris Kite, the entire Kite family, our heartfelt condolences. And the reality is, as you say, it takes a village to raise a child. So we are all in mourning today.
Absolutely, absolutely. And he was definitely a jewel, a role model, a prince in our community. And once again, we send our love, our prayers, our condolences to Mr. Kite and to his whole entire family. And we are here for you. If I don't know who's in contact with the family or anything like that, but we are definitely here for you. And if there's anything that I can do to help support and assist, I just believe that not only should a street be named after him, but I do also believe that if we can name the high school after him, we need to name the high school after him. And if we can't do that, we need to definitely name a wing of the high school or the gyms after him. Because he was that type of leader. He was that type of role model. And I'm going to make sure that I do anything in my power to make sure we get those two things done. All right. Thank you, everybody. Let's get right in. I am super excited. As you know, tomorrow is March 1st.
Yep.
Where did
History Month.
Where did time go? I mean, it is just beyond. I don't know how we got here so quickly, but we are here. So I'm just shocked, but I'm excited that we have the Alliance for Freeport back again. They were here last week. So many of you went back and watched the video. You shared the video. You were so excited about last Sunday Live, and we're just going to jump back in. I'm going to give each person a 2-minute opportunity to once again tell us who they are, just in case we have some newcomers. I've seen people chiming in from DC and Maryland and all of these different places, and they're still showing love for Mr. Kite and Anthony. He's wearing his Red Devil stuff, and so the love for Freeport and Mr. Kite are here. But we're going to go right into our discussion for this evening to hear what our panelists have to say, what is new, what's going on, and all of that good stuff. So let's start with Carmen, since you are it. Let's go.
My name is Carmen Piñeyro. I have been a trustee in the village of Freeport for 12 years. I'm a lifelong resident of the village of Freeport. I have 3 amazing children. I've been married for 14 years. But one tidbit that a lot of people don't know is actually that my husband and I know each other since the 6th grade. So a long time coming. I serve on the school board for 9 years. Freeport School Board, first elected Afro-Latina to the village board. And I'm running for mayor of Freeport. Our community's at a crossroads at this juncture where we need to come together from our socioeconomic diversity to the socioeconomic and social issues that have been facing our community for many years. We need to bring the community of Freeport to the 21st century. And, I've seen a lot of people talk about, what do you mean about bringing the community to the 21st century? One of the things that myself and my team, Alliance for Freeport, have been talking about is reimagining Freeport. And I want you viewers to reimagine what Freeport can look like, for our children and our children's children, and us presently. We're going to have to build Freeport from the ground up. Our infrastructure is falling apart. But when we talk about rebuilding infrastructure, we got to talk about rebuilding, taking into consideration the environment, having bike lanes, connecting those bike lanes to the canoe, the Blue Trail, the waterways, going down Long Beach Avenue, jumping on the canoe, coming out on Albany Avenue. And that's how we're going to reconnect our amazing village, one corner at a time. And it will give the opportunity for those that live in the south of Freeport with the beautiful waterfront homes and locations to see the beautiful tree lines and amazing big colonial homes from the 1950s and 60s. And be able to enjoy it. Sometimes people feel that they're in Baldwin and they're actually in Freeport. And then it will bring them to the central business of Freeport, where they can stop on their bike, park their bike, and, get a drink or, a tapas or, you name it, they can do that. And how we're going to do that is by building and reinforcing our small businesses that are struggling right now in our community due to COVID-19. Small businesses are the backbones of our community. As a small business owner, myself and my husband, we understand that they are the ones that employ our local youth and professionals. And it's just going to be a very fun thing. But most importantly, we have been listening to each and every one of you. And that's why our platform has come together, because we listen and we hear the problems, for example, of flooding down south are no longer just to the south of Freeport. We have flooding in the north of Freeport. But some of my running mates will talk a little bit about that, because we are reimagining what Freeport is going to look like. Thank you. We can hear you.
Sorry. I love it so much. Reimagining Freeport. That's a lot to unpackage. But let's go to Tim. Let's get you to greet us and speak about the upcoming election.
Great. Thank you, Dexter. So for everyone watching, my name is Tim Staines. I moved here to Freeport from Brooklyn about 10 years ago. I live here with my wife and 3 children. I'm a practicing attorney. I went to Fordham Law. I currently own my own law firm, Raymond and Staines. And the reason that I am running for village justice ties into that theme of reimagining that you heard from Carmen. It also, I really believe that we want to lean into the strengths that this village has. So in terms of reimagining the village court, I want to take the advancements that were adopted because of the COVID crisis in terms of virtual appearances and expand on that. I'm a big believer in making it as easy as possible for people to appear in the court, so that they don't have to take a day off of work if they don't have to. That if they have issues with daycare or childcare, that's not an impediment to them coming to the court. I'd like to expand some of the early settlement initiatives that are in place now and put it into a online portal, similar to what they have in New York City right now, where it's literally a matter of logging into a website, uploading documents, trying to resolve as much remotely and virtually as possible. Because again, it's a double whammy to people if you receive some type of a violation, whether it be a code enforcement or a parking ticket or a traffic violation. And then not only are you facing a fine from that, but if you're facing an economic penalty from having to miss work or have to pay for childcare to resolve that, that's something that I'd like to make the residents' lives better by addressing those issues. And I think you'll also hear from the rest of the team. So that's Carmen, who's running for mayor, and Dawn and Donna, who are running for trustee, about how we'd like to reimagine the way the code enforcement is used in the village, and that there's ways that code enforcement can be used to make sure the quality of life in the village is moving in the right direction. But you don't want necessarily small business owners to be regressively taxed or penalized because of those violations either. So in a nutshell, again, Tim Staines, I'm running for Village Justice, and I hope everyone looks for Row B and the Alliance for Freeport on March 16th. And please come out and vote. That's the main thing that we need, is for everyone to just come out and vote, be a part of the process.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. This COVID has changed a lot of things, and it would be great to be able to go before a judge virtually for simple stuff as a traffic ticket and different things like that, as opposed to taking off, waiting for 2 hours to see a judge, and still got to pay a fine or whatever the case may be. So I'm looking forward to that. Let's go to Dawn from the north side of Freeport. How are you, Dawn?
I'm good. I'm good. Hi, Dexter. Thank you so much for having us again. We really appreciate it. Last night was really a lot of fun, even though it didn't go last week. It was really a lot of fun, even though it didn't go the way we all hoped. So we're really grateful to have another opportunity to speak with you and, of course, all of your listeners. So my name is Dawn de la Yera, and I am running for village trustee. We do live here in North Freeport. We live in Northeast Freeport with my husband and our son. He's in 8th grade at Dodd. And I also own a business here in the village. So it's, we're involved in two folds. We are a family who's raising our children here, our child here. And I'm a business owner, a small business owner in Freeport. And over time, especially the last few years, so many people are being left out. So many groups are being left out. So many people are feeling disenfranchised and ignored and not heard and not listened to, and myself included. And when I found out Carmen was running for mayor, I was like, wait a minute, this is such a great opportunity, because Carmen, has been listening, has been living exactly the way we are, has been communicating, and she has not even been heard either. She has not always been heard either. And so running for trustee and taking this time and taking this opportunity to really be part of this reimagining of Freeport, of bringing Freeport into the modern world, of setting up a resource office for small businesses in Freeport. I remember years ago when we were opening hours, and I went to Freeport, to the village, to say, okay, can somebody guide me with kind of the stuff? Can you tell me like what permits might I need? Because I really don't know. This is my first time doing this. And they said, no, we really can't tell you what to do. So the idea of one of the things we want to do is establish an office where businesses can go and make sure that they are doing the right things and make sure that they are in compliance, and then in turn make sure that those businesses are being represented in the government. The same thing with families. We all live here, whether we're homeowners or renters. We want to do the right thing, and we want to make our village strong and beautiful. But sometimes we do something and then we find out later that, well, you shouldn't have done that, or you can't do that, and how do you know? And the idea, like you said, about, Tim talked about having to take off time to go to court. Well, it's the same thing. If we want to do something, we have to take off. The village is only open a limited number of hours. You have to hope the person you want to talk to is there, even try to figure out the right office to go to. And maybe we should have some nighttime hours, some other options about making things more accessible and making things more friendly, and being able to work together, not just to reimagine Freeport, but to make Freeport work for everyone who lives here. So, and just to echo the others too, the election is March 16th. If you have not registered to vote, you can register to vote until March 5th. You will vote the same places you voted in November. If you're not sure where that is, you can visit the Board of Elections website, and it'll be able to tell you where you should vote, and if you're registered also. In addition to that, if you want to vote by absentee, we need to make sure we have those absentee ballots. If you reach out to any of us, we can bring them to you. Because again, it's about being accessible. And it's not just because we're running for office. This is how we are every day. We want to be accessible, and we want our government to be accessible, and we want our representatives to be accessible.
Great. Thank you so much. The people are loving the conversation, and we haven't even gotten to the questions yet. They think that is a great idea to have nighttime hours. They love the plan so far and what you all planning on doing. And I see a couple of questions in there. We're going to get to your questions. Everybody's just taking a moment to share who they are and why they are running for the position that they are running to. It's going to be a great night. So y'all tune in, go get your snack, get your drink. Let's receive the one and only Donna Raphael as she comes to share why she is running.
Sigue en sintonía de nuestra programación.
Alianza por Freeport. Hagamos historia eligiendo a Carmen Piñeyro como la primera alcaldesa de la villa de Freeport. Este próximo martes 16 de marzo haremos historia eligiendo a la primera hispana alcaldesa de Freeport. Para más información visite nuestro website allianceforfreeport.com. Carmen Piñeyro, la futura alcaldesa de Freeport.
La Tribuna Hispana USA es el periódico para los que leemos en español. En circulación desde 1988 en Long Island y New York City. Contamos con diferentes ediciones por zonas, impresas y digitales, donde usted puede leer las últimas noticias nacionales, internacionales y publicar sus anuncios para la comunidad. Atención empresarios, comerciantes y profesionales, si usted desea aumentar sus ventas, llame ahora mismo al 1-888-900-2811, extensión 4, o visítenos en el www.latribunahispana.com.
We try to make the office more of a family type.
The office here is amazing. The staff here is amazing. Everybody makes you feel welcome. There's nobody who doesn't make you feel uncomfortable.
We do no-fault accidents. We do work-related slip and falls, major meds, sports-related injuries. So we do a lot of different. We just don't treat just one type of individual. I want to treat the patient. I want the patient to get better and have a good experience in my office. It's not all about the money. It's about the patient getting better.
Escucha Tribuna Radio las 24 horas del día. Tribuna Radio desde cualquier lugar del mundo. Tribuna Radio en el www.tribunaradio.us. Tribuna Radio, la música que quieres escuchar. Tribuna Radio, la mejor programación. Tribuna Radio, programas de entrevistas. Para más información, llámanos al 1-888-900-2811, extensión 5, o escríbenos a sales@tribunaradio.us.
Tribuna TV te invita a, si quieres ser el productor de tu propio programa de televisión, para así formar parte de la programación de Tribuna TV, rentando tu espacio en nuestra programación, como lo han hecho nuestros productores asociados. Para más información, llámanos al 1-888-928-11, extensión 7, o visítanos en la web al www.tribunatv.us.
Sigue en sintonía de nuestra programación.
Well, thank you very much. My name is Donna Raphael, and I am running for village trustee. I've lived in the village for over 20 years, and I am married for over 30 years. I have sons who have attended schools here in Freeport and graduated from Freeport. And, I'm just really excited to be a part of this journey to run for trustee. A little bit about why I want to run is, one, if anyone knows anything about the work that I do, I've worked at a nonprofit organization for over 20 years. Working with youth and families has been my predominant focus, especially working with youth, really helping them to develop leadership skills, amplify youth voice. It's so important to me that there is a safe space for young people to be able to convene and to collaborate and to learn from one another. But most importantly for us as leaders in this community, to also be able to guide them. And, my teammates are just definitely talking about everything that we love, which is reimagining Freeport. And we could even expand that by thinking about, when you reimagine anything, you want to be able to include our youth, because the youth is going to help to provide the sustainability that you need in a village, anywhere. When we start to talk about a resource center, when I had an opportunity to speak to young people, they're very interested in, our millennials and Gen X are very, very interested in starting their own business and maybe also becoming small business owners themselves. what other way to provide an opportunity for them to do that is to have a resource center, maybe even an incubator that might be able to expand some of the things that they need and they can't afford right away. But, having someone like Dawn and also our candidate for mayor, Carmen Piñeyro, who are business owners, to be able to provide that level of structure and guidance. The other group of individuals that I'm very interested in working with are our seniors. Right? Our senior citizens, legacy building is very important. So we have young people who are building a legacy and our seniors who are providing or might be even leaving a legacy. So it's important that we include them in any of our planning. We want to be respectful for who they are and what they brought to this process. They're living here in this village and what have they experienced. Those are all important to how we begin to create policies that don't leave them out, that also include them. And then also we want to make sure that when we start to talk about the village of Freeport, that we're talking about the north, the south, the east, and the west, right? I live on the northeast side of Freeport, and it's so important for us to begin to think about how we bridge the entire community so that it's inclusive. So there's an equitable structure, that there's an equitable access to every single thing that's in this village. That if we're looking at creating opportunities for the south side, we want to make sure that we're doing it for the north side. If this is going to be a destination place, that not only would we want to be able to show the beautiful side of Freeport, we want to make sure that we are not only reimagining but redeveloping what's happening on the north side so that people want to get off of the train and be able to access what we have on this side, but bringing everything all together so the entire community feels that they have access. We also want to make sure that when we talk about our families, that there's places for them to go, that there's green spaces and that there are beautiful parks and that there's not litter and that we're cleaning those we're making sure that our environment is safe and so that each and every person can have a quality of life that they deserve. I think that the homeowners deserve it. As a homeowner, I know that I feel that, living on this side, that I'm experiencing everything that other homeowners are experiencing because I'm a resident and I live right here where they live. And so, thank you so very much for inviting us back. I agree with the rest of my teammates that we are excited to return. March 16th is going to be a pivotal point for each and every one of us. The election is on March 16th. We are row B, and Alliance for Freeport is ready to serve. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And as you can see, they have shared their heart's desires about Freeport and why they are running and chose to run in the specific positions that they are running in for the Alliance for Freeport ticket and team, and they are geared up and ready to go to work. So I'm gonna get to our first question. I'm gonna throw this right on out here. Let's go. Let's have some fun. How do you feel about the transportation options currently available in our village? Do we have enough options? If not, what will you do to increase those?
Oh, we don't have enough options. Actually, we ended up losing the limited amount of options that we had when ISA was taken over. They ended up cutting back the bus route, which was the loop in Freeport, that used to literally connect the north side of Freeport to the south side. Used to get down Long Beach Avenue and come up and reconnect the community. But when we talked about reimagining Freeport and from the grounds up, that's one of the things that we want to talk about, and that's tied into infrastructure. Because we want to think about how we are going to give accessibility to the residents of Freeport more, but we also have to think how we're going to do that in a more green way. So, for example, one of the things that was implemented in the city and other communities like Saratoga and so forth are these bike parks that people can just jump on it. And in the summer, they can, instead of riding their cars down to the nautical mile to the central business, they can jump on their bikes on the bike route and go down to the nautical mile if they want to, eat some fresh, amazing fish. because we are the fishing capital of the world, of the Northeast. And vice versa. If the people from the South, they want some ethnic food, some Dominican, some Salvadorian, some Peruvian, some Mexican food, they can jump on their bike in the summer and come up. At the same time, you're going to be working on your health and so forth. Now, what happens with we're the hub to Jones Beach. And also we have direct train stops from Freeport directly into Penn Station. I think we need to maximize those events if we're making Freeport the destination that it can be. And showing people options, maybe have a trolley, right? So besides having the bike options and showing in a marked way the locations, have a trolley that, maybe people want to come by train and they get off at the train station or by bus, or if they bring their car, they can leave it at the main municipal parking lot by the train station and then take it down to the south. For example, I know speaking to the residents, there has been a main issue of them because of the traffic, of the bottleneck and so forth. This will ease some of that. And at the same time, it will give people the opportunity to be able to see other areas of Freeport as we reimagine it, putting some art out, because we have great artists in the village. We got to showcase their work.
Now you just said something. You just said something, and I'm just I'm just Dexter here. So I need to. Did you just say that we need to bring back the trolley?
Trolley.
The trolley. The San Francisco choo-choo trolley. So
but in wheels with gas instead of, or electricity, maybe, we have our own electrical plant. We could talk about that.
So let's reimagine this for a minute, right? Since we are reimagining Freeport, right? Because I love the idea, and I'm one of those persons that's going to give you something different every time, right? Even this new platform tonight, right? So how would this work? One. Secondly, what do you think would be a good proposed route for this trolley? What would be your first beginning stages of releasing something like this to the public? It's been approved by public comment. It's been approved by the trustee board. It's been approved by everything. And now it's time for implementation. What would be the next steps, and how would this look like? Will we start at the train station, or will we start on the north side and work our way to the south? What does this look like? Reimagine it for me, please.
Absolutely. So one of the things that Alliance for Freeport is about engaging the community and making sure they are vested and part of the plan. I can tell you, when I decided to run for public office, one of the reasons I ran is nobody asked me what I wanted. As a 23-year-old, I was like, but you just made a decision for me and you didn't even give me the opportunity to give the input. So, and also I've heard from Generation C, millennials and so forth. They're like, we're shocked that you actually want to hear our input. So the first thing is, obviously, we would speak to our Department of Public Works, our electric department, our police department, and we will have a sort of a sample plan and then we would bring it to the community out, right? And present it. Because you need to have the expert, you need to have the non-for-profit organizations, the other businesses to see what it looked like. But if we're reimagining, right, for example, so we will begin at the train station. Why? Because right now is where it's the hub to Jones Beach. It's the hub for a bus terminal that needs to be reworked on, and we're going to have serious conversation with the county and the private owner of NYSED, which is the ones that run the buses. But so you would take it and you can go down Guy Lombardo, right? One. If we're fortunate enough and we have amazing grant writers running for trustee that will work together with the grant writer in the village, have two. So one would go down Commercial to Lakeview to Babylon Turnpike, cut across Colonial, and go down North Main Street, make a left on Prince. And that's how it's going to take that route. Like that's the interconnection of the community. And what you do is, one of the things that I've seen happen in other communities is that they've taken buildings and obviously, again, the community has to be vested and engage in it, where they take the local student artists, the artists that live here. Freeport has been known for decades to be the centers of the art, music. I mean, Guy Lombardo, hello. And, bring that back. But can you imagine having like a mural, right? A painted mural by one of the famous painters and artists that lives in the village. And then you go around and you see that. And then you get to Central Freeport. And, Guy Lombardo, Church Street, South Main Street. So it's a route, kind of like a circular route that gets there. But if we can have, to begin with too, because obviously we want to maintain, hold the line on taxes, but also this additional revenue that's going to come in from being innovative and reimagining. You have two where one goes down, because sometimes people are hungry and they get upset when they're hungry and they just want to get down to see which are the restaurants that they want. But if they have the route, they can say, you know what, here's a Mexican restaurant, here is E.B. Elliott's, here is Otto's. Okay, so let's get down to that area. Or, I want some pupusa, so I'm going to stop on Church Street. So that's the ideal, but it definitely is going to interconnect the community, where people that don't want to drive, that live here, that want to ride their bikes, they can jump on the trolley. It might be a possibility that people may have to pay $1. We don't know yet, but that's part of the discussion. And that will also protect our environment, because there's going to be less cars being driven. And people will have the opportunity to ride their bikes or walk, certain distances. But also, one last thing, it will also help develop North Main Street and Babylon Turnpike with additional, restaurants or any other type of entertainment, like a jazz club or something like that. We have so many young kids that are like, I'm interested in bringing my classmate from band together, from the jazz band, and probably having some sort of that in the North Main Street or Babylon Turnpike. And I thought that was just so unique and interesting to hear that, because they want to come back and invest in our community.
Absolutely. That sounds good. And I can't wait to sit and ride and wave to all of the Village of Freeport residents and say, hey, how are you all? Good to see you. Great. Anybody else, any of the trustees want to jump in on that? Or are we going to move on? Because I think Carmen has really laid it out for us. All right, cool. Let's talk about it. One of the things that you have mentioned, of course, infrastructure, and reimagining Freeport from that perspective. My next question would be, if you can change one of the things in our zoning code, what would it be and why? And I'm sure probably has most experience as it relates to the zoning in the Freeport, in the Village of Freeport area. So I'll let you start, and if anybody else want to jump in, you can do so.
Sure. So right now, the village is actually working on recoding its law and regulations. Obviously, because there are certain areas that are outdated. But I'm glad you asked that question. And Tim talked about it a little bit when you talk about reimagining. We need to get away from using court enforcement as a way of punishment. And one of the things that came about the real estate crash of 2008 and 2009 was the state attorney's office from various California, New York, Texas. They demanded from the major banks, and they sued them, and they actually won when the real estate market crashed. So one of the things that came about is now you're going to use code enforcement to use it as a tool to educate the community, to use it as a tool to use more green space, in the building process, but also when you're working from the grounds up for infrastructure. And the way that you do that is by rechanging your zoning codes, the locations, seeing what might have worked, 30, 40 years ago may not work now, and engaging the residents of the community in that area. Because one of the things that we have to be respectful is that as a community, when I bought my house, I bought it because, there's just single family homes in the area, and that's how I want to keep it. But what we need to look at is those areas where, the buildings are falling apart, they're not maintained. What can we do there in that location, together with code enforcement, to see how we can fix that and bring it? And one way to do that is the restrictions on zoning. So I look forward if the members of our village give us the opportunity, Alliance for Freeport on March 16th, to showcase that, but to work with each and every one of you in those areas where we can change it. Because, one of the things that was happening, and now we have a moratorium, is that developers were buying all homes in a huge lot that could be subdivided and building too close to each other. So there's a moratorium right now, but these are the things that you need to have a public hearing and hear from the residents of the community. What is exactly that you're envisioning and you're seeing, if in fact a structure is no longer sound and needs to be knocked down, and a developer buys it and he wants to cut it up into 3 lots, for example.
Got you. Anybody else want to jump in on that? All right, cool. Not a problem at all. So now, because we're going to deal with this now. There's such a big topic going on right now. And I mean, it's huge in the state of New York. I know that Tim may not be able to jump in on this question because he must remain neutral in his position. However, April 1st is the deadline for police reform. We know that I'm overwhelmed with it because I'm in so many different levels of it, county-wide, village-wise, dealing with this whole police reform. If you're elected March 16th, and I don't know when the new candidates are sworn in. Are you sworn in before April 1st? Are you automatically the mayor? Let's talk about that.
No, so the team will be sworn in April 1st. Is actually you will sign the book. And then the actual swearing-in ceremony would be on the first meeting, reorganization night, which would be April 5th, the first Monday in April. Currently, the current mayor, trustee, and myself, we have until March 31st is where our current term ends. So it would be as of April 1st.
Okay, so we know that the police reform is due to the governor's office by April 1st. We do not know as of now what the draft from Freeport or what will be submitted to the governor's office as a new reform, police reform plan for the village of Freeport. What are some of the things that you would like to see in the police reform plans as it relates to Freeport? What are some of the things that you would like to see in the police reform plans as it relates to Freeport? Now, I want all of our Freeport residents to pay close attention, not just to the answers, but this is a great opportunity for you to even ask your questions. If it so be it that this team is elected, we will have to work with them, or whatever team is elected, to consistently enforce what is needed to be enforced as it relates to police reform in the village of Freeport. Now, let me say this, and I'll speak regarding myself because I can do that, and I'm off hours. I have been selected to sit on the Freeport Village Police Reform Task Force. Documented, emailed to me. Congratulations, you're on the task force last year, right? But we have yet to have a meeting to discuss the draft of Freeport's, the second draft, let me say that because it's draft number 2, the second draft of Freeport's Village Police Reform. So I've met with the police commissioner and some team members of the task force, as well as other community leaders last week, Thursday, I believe it was. And I told them that I was very offended that 2 drafts have been put out in public without the team that they created having one single meeting to discuss, to provide input or insight into the police reform draft that would be voted for in or around March 22nd at the next board meeting, and then submitted to the governor's office to meet the deadline of April 1st. I demanded, there's a difference in between command and demand. And so I felt that we were somewhat disrespected. And so I demanded that a meeting with these committee members will take place, and that meeting will be held on Tuesday. I'm not giving you no location or no time because it's for invite only. But I want you to know, as a village, as a son of the village, as an advocate for this village, that I am working hard along with others to make sure that we handle this police reform situation. So if you have any questions, any thoughts, any ideas, any suggestions, now is the time for you to submit those in the chat so we can discuss them to a certain degree, and be able to use the information at my upcoming meeting on Tuesday. But the question that I have for the panelists today is, what does reimagining policing mean to you and within the village of Freeport?
So I'll start this time.
All right.
All right. Yes. So, like Dexter, I was, in true transparency, I'd like to just first start off by saying that I also was selected to be a part of the committee. My interest in police reform was before I decided to run for trustee. And so I expressed an interest very early on when I realized that the governor had created and instituted this mandate in which the Freeport police and all of the jurisdictions, if they wanted to continue with their give funding, that they would have to come up with a reform, a plan that I think that is important. And so like Dexter, I also wanted very much to be able to take the document that was submitted to the community publicly and extrapolate from that in our committee meeting what was going to work, what was and what we needed to add in terms of the structure of the document. The document is very it's small in comparison to the document that was created and also released to the public from the county. But in addition to that, there is a document with the People's Plan. And why I mention all 3 of those is that it is important for us to take a look at all of those. And while we have very short amount of time to do so, I think that Tuesday is really the first day to do so. We need to be in person. We need to be able to take each of those documents as much as possible and to make a comparison about what independently works for our village. It's not going to be a cookie cutter. And so I don't believe that we should take everything that any of the other plans have and just supplant it into ours. However, I do think that there's been some work that's been done, especially in the People's Plan, to look to see how some of those points could possibly work in our village. I think the most important thing about police reform and the plan itself, it should not be in a vacuum. It should not be completed by one department. While the police have a vested interest, and I understand that, it's going to be important for the police department, for the community, for different organizations, which I've given some names that I think should be involved with this. It's going to take an entire structure of individuals to lean into, and also provide additional suggestions for the police reform document. The document should not be static. It should have an opportunity to make changes, which is where community needs to be involved. But I think that's sort of like where I want to kind of like frame the decisioning about how we get to April 1st, because there will be a voting on the document, which I don't feel, and as you can hear from my Dexter, who is also one of the committee members, we don't feel that the document is complete because we haven't really had a chance to really take a look at it. But one of the things that I know that's going to be important is that in addition to the police, you can't arrest your way out of everything, and so you're going to need other entities to be involved with that, and that includes mental health. So I'll start there. Mental health is extremely important because police are not trained to deal with individuals that may have a mental health issue and or who are having families who are calling for assistance, not necessarily arrest. And so you need another level of educated individuals to be able to ascertain and maybe make an assessment at the time of or shortly after, and to make sure that our citizens, our residents, are being cared for in a way that is humane and that they are going to be in a place where they belong, not necessarily always with the police in terms of a criminal situation. Everything is not criminal. And so I do believe that if we would have an opportunity to kind of institute a way for the police to also take a look at how we're dealing with those issues, I would think that would be probably where we want to start.
Sigue en sintonía de nuestra programación.
Alianza por Freeport. Hagamos historia eligiendo a Carmen Piñeyro como la primera alcaldesa de la villa de Freeport. Este próximo martes 16 de marzo haremos historia eligiendo a la primera hispana alcaldesa de Freeport. Para más información visite nuestro website allianceforfreeport.com. Carmen Piñeyro, la futura alcaldesa de Freeport.
La Tribuna Hispana USA es el periódico para los que leemos en español. En circulación desde 1988 en Long Island y New York City. Contamos con diferentes ediciones por zonas, impresas y digitales, donde usted puede leer las últimas noticias nacionales, internacionales y publicar sus anuncios para la comunidad. Atención empresarios, comerciantes y profesionales. Si usted desea aumentar sus ventas, llame ahora mismo al 1-888-900-2811, extensión 4, o visítenos en el www.latribunahispana.com.
We try to make the office more of a family type.
The office here is amazing. The staff here is amazing. Everybody makes you feel welcome. There's nobody who doesn't make you feel uncomfortable.
We do no-fault accidents, we do work-related slip and falls, major med, sports-related injuries. So we do a lot of different, we just don't treat just one type of individual. I want to treat the patient, I want the patient to get better and have a good experience in my office. It's not all about the money, it's about the patient getting better.
Escucha Tribuna Radio las 24 horas del día. Tribuna Radio desde cualquier lugar del mundo. Tribuna Radio en el www.tribunaradio.us. Tribuna Radio, la música que quieres escuchar. Tribuna Radio, la mejor programación. Tribuna Tribuna Radio, programas de entrevistas. Para más información, llámanos al 1-888-900-2811, extensión 5, o escríbenos a cels@tribunaradio.us.
Tribuna TV. Te invita a, si quieres ser el productor de tu propio programa de televisión, para así formar parte de la programación de Tribuna TV, rentando tu espacio en nuestra programación, como lo han hecho nuestros productores asociados. Para más información, llámanos al 1-888-928-11, extensión 7, o visítanos en la web al www.tribunatv.us.
Sigue en sintonía de nuestra programación.
Absolutely. Anybody else want to jump in on that?
Yeah. So another component of this is one of the things that now I'm not on the committee with you guys, but I did attend the open house, and I have now been working with the community affairs. Right, community. Oh my gosh, I swear I can't remember.
Community affairs. That's
Community
correct.
affairs.
Community Affairs Division.
Yeah.
Thank you. And now we're going to bring them out into the community because, and into. I happen to be president of Dodd PTA, and we've invited them to come to our next PTA meeting to talk with parents and the students. And why even bring that up besides the fact that this is another thing that we are involved in, but. You know, the first time I really learned about this draft, like so many others, was from a random Facebook post a couple weeks ago. Like,
right.
Like, and I'm someone who does pay attention, and I am someone who, and I know lots of people do, but I do pay attention, and I am involved, and I am looking for more things, and I am, you know, I do want to know, and I try to keep track, and it was like, wait, what? And then there was this open house, and the first one was in the middle of the day where, you know, I have a job, so that's a thing. And then there was a second one that they had on a Saturday, and I was able to go to that, which was really great. But there were so few members of the community there. And again, because it was from a random Facebook post. Like, we have methods and abilities to reach people, but we're actively choosing not to. Mm-hmm. So part of this definitely has to be that, you know, our governments, and whether that talks about village government or their police government or whomever it is, you can't just get people always to come to you. And you say these ideas, and like, as Donnie mentioned, they're in a vacuum, they're in a bubble. People say, oh, well, let's do X, Y, Z. Well, if no one is there to hear you say that, did it really even happen? So we've got to find a way to use the tools. And again, this is 2021. We have so many tools to communicate with people. And we all know how hard it is to truly get messages out. But if we employ every single platform we have and to constantly put it out, not just one Facebook post here, possibly an Instagram post there, maybe another Facebook post, and then, oh, well, nobody showed up. Well, that doesn't work that way. So we definitely need to find a way, whether about police reform or something else, we've got to find a way for those things to actually be taken to the people, as opposed to the people always having to come to the government. Now, in addition to that, that backtracks back into some of the other ideas we have for reimagining Freeport. If we have more community spaces and more spaces and places for people to gather, there can be signage. There could be billboards. You know, I don't mean those big giant ones, but like reasonable billboards. You know, there can be advertisements, not just electronic means, but we have things we could be doing. Now, in addition to that, one of the things that I did learn in that community affairs meeting was there seems to be a number of items in the police contract that are contradictory to things we want to see in police reform. So when we talk about police reform, it can't just be in the bubble of this is the idea that we want to do, and this is what we think we want or what we don't want, and this is what some people do want and others want this. But even to make even some of those things happen, there has to be an adjustment in the police contract. Because if we are expecting and asking the police to do something, but then their contract doesn't allow it, somehow the government's got to figure out how to bridge those two things together. And if the elected officials won't even acknowledge that those things exist, then how are we supposed to even implement anything in a police reform bill if it's against the police contract?
So I think.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Donna.
No, I appreciate what you're saying, because I do understand that, the contradiction is very difficult. And I saw that in the chat, many people were mentioning that there are different forms, not just police, but other areas of law enforcement that need to be included. And those are some of the people that we've suggested need to be at the table, because it doesn't just stop at Freeport Police. It does include the DA's office and the Nassau County Police Department. But most importantly, it's going to take all of those individuals, which is why when we start to talk about how we got here Tuesday, when it's due on April 1st, it's making it a little bit difficult. But we're going to make every effort. I think that we're coming to that table on Tuesday prepared, having read have read the document if those individuals haven't, and really to try to just take a look at, and we're one, not only just us, because it's just a small group of us. And so while we're just looking at the document, that's what I mean by it can't be static. It has to be open to community. It has to be voted on. There have to be other voices that are going to be a part of the decision making, because policing us requires other people to be involved in the decisions as it relates to that document that's going to be handed in on the 1st. Chief Smith was very clear that even though the document was going in on the 1st, that it wasn't the final draft of it, or even the final document itself, that it would be a working document. And it's going to be up to all of the citizens to hold everyone accountable to that based on what you're saying, based on what we come up with, it's going to be something that's going to be extremely important for people to really take a look at. And I agree, utilizing multiple platforms to get the word out is going to be vital, because our senior citizens may be completely unaware that this is going on, and that maybe there should have been a mailer. And so a part of that is going to be in Tuesday. How do we get the word out before the final vote? That has to come back to the village for the vote.
And just one more thing. If we are elected, which we're hoping that we will be, and we're counting on being elected, one of the things that we want people to realize is we live here too. We are experiencing the same lack of information, the same disenfranchisement, the same, we try to be conveyors of information. And if we can't even get the information to convey it, then how is anybody else supposed to do it? And again, part of reimagining and modernizing our village is, again, to be able to reach more people in more ways. And because we're experiencing that ourselves and that frustration, we understand how the other residents feel, because we feel it too. So we're not just sitting in wherever we are, we're actively participating in the day-to-day life in the community. And if we're actively participating and everybody around us is actively participating, but we don't have a way of accessing and sharing, that's a big part of this reimagining and modernizing that we're talking about.
And I'm just so grateful to have these great, amazing running mates, passionate and members of the community. But, overall, I've seen some of the questions from our viewers. This is personal to me, because when I worked in the state assembly, this is something that began back to 2014. And, talked about police reform, putting serial numbers on the bullet. And it's just a big picture. But one of the things, as a member of New York Local Progress, I'm one of the founding members for the Long Island chapter. It was myself and now elected Supreme Court Judge Valerie Cartwright. Local elected officials from throughout the state of New York have been working on this since 2012. One of the reasons why we were working on it is because one of the things that we've learned is that policing is completely different throughout New York State. So what could be seen as a felony upstate New York is actually a misdemeanor in the 5 boroughs or vice versa. So when you talk about enforcement or how this affects our community, it's very disproportionate. Obviously, you're not going to be able to resolve this problem immediately. But when you talk about reimagining what policing is in the community, my vision and what I see for Freeport is one where our children, as growing up, know who the police officer is. You know, that I'm riding my bike and here, you know, comes a police officer and says, "Hey, Miss Piñeyro, how you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, you're doing your rounds." This is the type of stuff that's going to start changing the dynamics in the community. I'm huge on policy. One of the issues that I've seen as a trustee for many years is that at times we tend to, if it's not broken, why fix it? Policy is meant to be reviewed, if not quarterly, every 6 months, to see if those policies that are already established are working for the community. If they are not, then we need to go back to the table of negotiations. We need to go bring it back to the community and say, "Hey guys, listen, you know, we've tried it for 90 days. We've tried it for 180 days. It's not working. How can we make it work?" But if we don't have those conversations, what happens that I've seen is that, "Oh, they're not listening to me. I can't do it." And then the friction starts. Something that I haven't seen in the plan is, you know, the police academy. You know, I haven't seen the civil service test because, you know, it all begins at the beginning. So when we talk about reimagining policing, and I've been very consistent from the ground up, we have to start. What kind of tests are our police officers receiving? Do we need to look at Nassau County Civil Service? Do we need to see what is there? I mean, one of the things that I bring this up, and as you guys know, we lost Mr. Kite. One of the things that he talked about standardized testing is that it disproportionately hinders those students who are not born in the U.S., right? Whose English is a second language. So, you know, cultural sensitivity has to be part of the plan at the academy, you know, and you may have in the contract, you know, 2 times, 3 times training, but what kind of training? Are they having this training with different scenarios in the community? And when we looked at the whole picture from the beginning, from the training, from the test that they take, when they make it to the academy, how will they react in a certain situation? But most importantly, here in Freeport, I can tell you that plan is not in Spanish. I haven't seen it online where you can at least try to use Google Translate to whatever language it is that is there. So imagine this. From the get-go, you already have about 38% of your population that has no idea what this plan is about because they cannot understand it. Or maybe they do, but there's some terminologies that they still cannot get. So yet, if implemented and put into action, a certain portion of the community is not going to understand what it is. So we have to communicate. We have to make it more accessible. So, you know, as being members of that committee, make sure to bring that up at that discussion. But we must bring these other factors, you know, mental health and everyone else in here to see how we can better support our police officer. Because that's the other option that I don't see in the plan. I don't see what are the tools about supporting our law enforcement that are there. You know, they're human just like you and me. And sometimes they need assistance, but they don't know where to go to, who to speak to, because they also don't want to be stigmatized of, you know what, they're having a mental breakdown or they're having a problem. And we have lost a lot of loved police officers due to mental health as well. So.
Absolutely.
Carmen, I just want to say, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Carmen, thank you. You know, I agree that whatever the document is before it is voted on and the next time that it is submitted to the community, I do think that it should be in Spanish as well as Creole, because we do have a population of Haitians who speak Creole. So I think that it's important. So thank you very much. I'm actually going to add that too for Tuesday.
Yeah, and and I think that if the document is electronic, you can, there's a service online that actually you can click on it and it will translate to whichever, not verbatim, but it will kind of translate it to that language. And I think that's very important. We have to use technology to our advantage.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So,
I'm responsible for the language access for the minorities within the county. And so those documents can be translated. There can be a phone service provided that will also read the document to a person who picks up the phone and want that. So there are ways that the village can get this out. And we need to make sure that they are definitely getting those, using those avenues to get the message out. We are okay. So I'm just looking at people are just going in. Please check out the People's Plan for real structural changes. We're in the process of translating it. Great, thank you. The People Plan has tools on how to support law officers, right? LongIslandUnited.org. Wonderful, wonderful. We're holding an info session in Creole and Spanish in the People's Plan, which is the real plan for police reform. All right. So as you can see, people are doing their due diligence to make sure that we reimagine, reestablish, reinvent policing and police reform, and what that looks like. And what I love about this so much is that
I'm sorry, Dexter. I just need to jump in because the Alliance for Freeport. There's been some rumor going out there that we want to get rid of our police department. So I want to make sure I use this platform to cut that out. We're not trying to get rid of our police department. We have amazing police officers. Can we work better? Because no one is above the law. Absolutely. There's always room for improvement, but let me make it clear. Carmen Piñeyro running for mayor of Freeport and the Alliance for Freeport are not looking to dismantle the police department in Freeport. So for those individuals in the opposition spreading rumor, you're hearing it from me and you will hear from my teammate as well. And directly from them, we're not looking to dismantle our police department. There has been some mention because our team has been endorsed by Progressive that we're going to dismantle the police. The reality is that the Progressives have been supporting Carmen Piñeyro and the teams that I've ran in from before since 2009. So I just want to make sure that we get this information out there. So the rumor bill stops because we will be working with our police department to make sure it's the best department there is and that it truly represents the best interests from the entire village of Freeport.
Thank you so much. Yes, we are not getting, and I'm not on Carmen's team or her ticket, but we are not getting rid of Freeport Police Department. I understand what it means to be an incorporated village, number one, and I understand the charter of the village of Freeport, and then two, the need for us to have our own police department. I think all villages in cities and towns and different things should have an exclusive police department because it's an opportunity to serve the residents of that area in a more better, persistent, clear, concise way. And so I think that the Freeport Police is not going anywhere. I'll say that. And so we will be working this week to get the police reform together and make sure that everybody has input. And that's what I was saying a few minutes ago. I love seeing these different plans of police reforms being established, because it brings a totally different perspective. And we as one group don't have all the information, right? We really should have a team going into prison and going into the jails to see what they think about police reform, because if you've never been, then you don't have their perspective. Right. So some of them are locked up, tied up, and tangled up because of some mistreatment of some police officers or some things that they have done. And so I think we need to be sensitive to the many different entities and try to be inclusive to all of these different organizations and agencies that are able to provide us with some good, solid, sound proof as it relates to reimagining and reinforming policing. All right, so that's policing. Now we're gonna get ready to close because our team here has families and it's Sunday, and I know that they need to get back to their mommy and daddy duties. And so I am big on, so our last section is going to deal with organization and administration. I'm very big on administration, operation, organization, logistics, and different things like that. And we spoke today about a number of different things, from the courts and reestablishing timeframes and how we do handle different cases within the courts. We talked about establishing some type of office or personnel assigned to helping people maneuver through small businesses or zoning issues or different things like that. What I would like to know from the team is, and of course, I'm taking off all the limits today as it relates to being politically correct, meaning I already know once you get in, you won't be able to do too much because the budget will already be in place. Some things that have already voted for in 2020 is going to have to wait until the end of 2021 in order for you to really kind of make changes as it relates to expanding, as it relates to budget positions and different things like that. But as we reimagine Freeport, what does the office of the mayor looks like from your perspective?
Okay. You want me to answer? Just kidding.
You're running for mayor.
It was an inside joke. I just want to make sure people understand that the fiscal year for the Incorporated Village of Freeport begins April 1st it's not a calendar year. So it's from April 1st to March 31st of every year. But the actual budgeting process, we start closing it in on February 28th because the month of March, that's where you do, any transfer overs from the community. So right now, the mayor's office is just the mayor and the secretary to the Board of Trustees. There is a position for chief of staff, and I believe, obviously, budgeting process. But, the office of the mayor that I'm running for is central and foremost. It's pretty much the spokesperson for the Incorporated Village of Freeport. And that's where it begins. And you set the examples. If you heard me correctly, when we talked about at the beginning of this discussion, reimagining our community, part of reimagining the community is working with what already has been established with the budget and seeing how we can maximize and improve our everyday workings for the employees, but also with the village. What that will do for us is it's going to give us an insight to see what we're going to need to work on for the budget for 2021, 2022, and then expand it and look at expand it to bring additional personnel into the village, not necessarily as part of the budget process, but through grants that we're going to be very aggressive at the federal, state, and county levels of pursuing. The community of Freeport has lost millions of dollars in innovative grants that could have brought in additional bright intelligent individuals to bring Freeport to the 21st century. Some of the conferences that I've attended, I give you an example. There's a lot of public partnerships, but you need to have someone that has the insight and the aggressiveness to be able to put those individuals together to make sure that the assets that are in the village are maximized. And most importantly, for example, if our green space is very limited and we need to protect that limited space that we have left, but that doesn't mean we're going to stop economic development. What I mean is we're going to do an inventory of what we already have and see how we can assist. For example, the business owners in the industrial park in Freeport, and how we're going to help them attract new investment into that area so they can hire more residents of the village of Freeport.
Anybody else? And are we good? So now so I'm looking at it from the perspective of, I'll have to kick everything over here. I'm looking at it from the perspective of what are some offices or departments you think the village of Freeport needs? So I see that, of course, small businesses are one of the things that your team is so passionate about. Will there be a small business office? Will there be a office of minority affairs that is inclusive of certifying MWBEs or responsible for diversity and inclusion? I know that, you may not be able to go in, the first year making some of these things happen, but what do you see within your first 4 years are 2 or 3 main offices that you would like to see established within your first term?
Sigue en sintonía de nuestra programación.
Alianza por Freeport. Hagamos historia eligiendo a Carmen Piñeyro como la primera alcaldesa de la villa de Freeport. Este próximo martes 16 de marzo haremos historia eligiendo a la primera hispana alcaldesa de Freeport. Para más información visite nuestro website allianceforfreeport.com. Carmen Piñeyro, la futura alcaldesa de Freeport.
La Tribuna Hispana USA es el periódico para los que leemos en español. En circulación desde 1988 en Long Island y New York City. Contamos con diferentes ediciones por zonas, impresas y digitales, donde usted puede leer las últimas noticias nacionales, internacionales y publicar sus anuncios para la comunidad. Atención empresarios, comerciantes y profesionales, si usted desea aumentar sus ventas, llame ahora mismo al 1-888-900-2811 extensión 4 o visítenos en el www.latribunahispana.com.
We try to make the office more of a family type.
The office here is amazing. The staff here is amazing. Everybody makes you feel welcome. There's nobody who doesn't make you feel uncomfortable.
We do no-fault accidents, we do work-related slip and falls, major med, sports-related injuries. So we do a lot of different, we just don't treat just one type of individual. I want to treat the patient, I want the patient to get better and have a good experience in my office. It's not all about the money, it's about the patient getting better.
Escucha Tribuna Radio las 24 horas del día. Tribuna Radio desde cualquier lugar del mundo. Tribuna Radio en el www.tribunaradio.us. Tribuna Radio, la música que quieres escuchar. Tribuna Radio, la mejor programación. Tribuna Radio, programas de entrevistas. Para más información, llámanos al 1-888-900-2811, extensión 5, o escríbenos a sales@tribunaradio.us.
Tribuna TV. Te invita a, si quieres ser el productor de tu propio programa de televisión, para así formar parte de la programación de Tribuna TV, rentando tu espacio en nuestra programación, como lo han hecho nuestros productores asociados. Para más información, llámanos al 1-888-928-11, extensión 7, o visítanos en la web al www.tribunatv.us.
Sigue en sintonía de nuestra programación.
So what I think is important to bring up is that we already have certain departments. I don't think, in my opinion, that some of those individuals at those positions have been given the opportunity to excel and to put and maximize their intelligence, their reach to its fullest. But the most important thing that we definitely want to bring in is that business hub and create that business office. And how we are going to be able to do that is obviously sit down with the other department heads within the village. Because right now you have the building department, you have the clerk's office. The building department is responsible for certain permits. The clerk's office is responsible for other permits, which in a turn, it creates chaos with a brand new business owner that's trying to come in that may have missed one document from the clerk's office and another document from the buildings department. And I see Dawn shaking her head because this is what we've been hearing from the actual residents of Freeport, that when they've gone in, they haven't received an answer. So when you bring all those things together into a centralized location, what you do is the person is going to live there like, if you want A, these are all the requirements that you have. When you talk about reimagining and modernizing, we need to use electronic ways of means to our advantage. So, you can index the document with a barcode at the bottom that once the person completes it, it comes in, it automatically sends it off to the building department, to the clerk's office, to purchasing, and so forth. Instead of you now having a resident spend an entire day at Village Hall, because now they got to go to the buildings department, back up to the clerk's office, go up to purchasing to get an application for whatever. And I think that's key. I think that within the budget and the means that we have already in the village, that's something that we definitely can work on. But you know what? We have to allow workers to rise to the occasion. There may be workers that say, mayor, board of trustees, I'm willing to take that task on. I'm willing to take it and make it my baby and bring it there. And how you are going to be able to do that is obviously within the parameters of the CSEA contract. Create that flexibility in work schedule, because right now the village hall is open from 8:30 to 4:30. One of the things that my running mates talked about is extending hours. Maybe twice a week, a person comes in at 12 o'clock and they leave at 8 p.m. That gives the residents that work and get out at 5 o'clock, a 3-hour window to take care of whatever it is that they need to take care of us, because we're a working community. We're here to serve. We have to make local government more accessible to the needs of the community that they represent.
Wonderful. If you become mayor, would you hire a chief of staff?
If I become mayor and as chief of staff, obviously it's something that I discussed with my running mates, and obviously there's other 2 trustees that we will be working with. Once, if elected, we come into the board. I think that's something that has to be collectively discussed with the other remaining trustee, because we're going to be a government of inclusiveness. And I think that the needs of not only Alliance for Freeport, but the remaining members of the board, because they have experience as well, need to bring into light, because this person is also going to be a liaison between our community and needs to represent the views and what we are expecting to bring out to the community. It's part of reimagining. If you have someone that doesn't have that charisma and doesn't have that wit an understanding of dealing with a community that is multicultural and has multicultural sensitivity, that might be an issue. So I think that that's something that absolutely will have to be discussed, and also make sure that what was budgeted for that position is sufficient for that position.
Absolutely. Do you think that the Village of Freeport needs a chief diversity officer?
I think that I will be open to that discussion. I think that there's people already, like I said before, that work at Village Hall that have vast experience in that area. They just haven't been given the opportunity to bring it into action. And I think that I'm a true believer of promoting within, right? And giving the opportunity to the person to rise. Sometimes you have hidden talent in all areas of work, whether it's the private sector and so forth. You just have to give that person the opportunity to show you and the community what they are able to do. And that's my way of thinking. And obviously together with the rest of the board.
So it has been reported to me that you have been verbally confirming to some that they won't lose their jobs once you get in. Of course, I am aware of CSCA, meaning those are unionized people and different things of that sort. And then you have what is called your ordinance appointed personnel that the mayor could bring in at liberty and of choice, of course, with the approval of the village of with the approval of the trustees. And so, one, have you been promising people that they will keep their job? And secondly, a lot of people feel that you need to clean house because you don't necessarily know who is for you and against you. And the conversation that you've just shared basically was saying, I'm not letting you go type of situation. We're going to promote from within. But the residents that I've spoken to have shared their concern about a younger village officials type of situation. They feel that Freeport is outdated. They feel like the people that are in these positions have been there for 30, 40 years. They feel that the people that are in these positions are not relevant. People don't know who's over buildings. People don't know who's over DPW. People don't know who's over parks. And they feel like they should not have to always call directly the village to get a runaround of who's doing what or how they're doing it or different things like that. But they feel like they should be able to reach out to these people individually. What are your thoughts and comments about all of that?
I'm so glad you asked that question, because I'm a true believer about policy. I don't do quid pro quo, right? There has been situations, and my running mates can also chime in when they want, where, people were like, well, I don't guarantee anyone anything, right? Because it's quid pro quo and it's illegal. I represent Freeport and I don't look good in an orange suit. So I just want to make sure I get that out there. But when I talked about promoting within, let me explain a little further. Is those young, dynamic individuals that are working within the village, that are hiding somewhere, in a location that people don't have accessibility to. And I think that, I will be lying to the voters of Freeport if I tell them, they shouldn't be considered for those positions. And then you have the individuals that, yes, they're appointed positions, and yes, some of them will be changed when we come in if given the opportunity. But then you have individuals that are just absolutely amazing at what they do. And I think that that's important too to have there. I've been privileged to see them excel. I've seen others not excel so much. I've seen others not treat our community as well. So that gives me the insight to better assess who they are. But what I can tell you is this. There are individuals that have expressed to me that they're ready to retire. They have expressed that, you know what, Carmen, if God willing, you come in and your team comes in, we will work with you to train the next generation of employees that are going to come to the village. I hold that dear to my heart because these are workers that care about the village of Freeport. And you know what? They're going to retire and still live in Freeport. So they have a vested interest. Whoever takes over the position that they currently have are successful in doing what they need to do. So you have that perspective. Then you have the perspective of the civil service. And, as a chief compliance officer in a mortgage bank, I got to tell you, there are protections and you cannot force people to retire. You cannot just tell people, you got to go. It's, when they want to retire, when they want to do it. So again, I'm a true believer about giving people opportunities. And there's ways to bring them around. And I think that, that's going to be part of, if elected, the first part of the first 6 months, first year of working in the community. And to answer your question, that people want to make sure we clean house. You also have to be careful because when you talk about cleaning house, you may be cleaning over more than 300 years worth of experience if you clean house completely. So I'm a believer of phase in and phase out. Like I said, I've been privy to individuals that want to retire and that they will work with the next generation of people. But that's not to say that in the future we can bring that young dynamic because we're moving. We're family oriented. We're vested here. Our children are going to the schools here, and we have to make sure that we bring that young blood in because they're going to be innovative, have ways. Like I'm computer savvy, but I talk to my nieces and nephew, and they're like, "Tia, listen, you need to do this because you get this done quicker in a better way." And I think that if we don't have that perspective, then we'll lose out. My running mates can jump in and chime in.
You left us exactly where I would probably start, which is, anything that has to do with youth and being able to provide for them a pathway for them to be able to get included and be a part of the village. Whether it's a working environment, whether it's, even starting off as an internship, but just, providing some access, I think is going to be extremely important for the village to be sustainable. It's there has to be a combination of seasoned employees as well as new employees coming in, learning how the government and or the different departments work, because it's the only way for, one of the things that I do, I have a youth advisory council program in my work. And one of the things that I do as young people begin to phase out, we take a look at how do we replace your seat with individuals that are going to be able to continue the work that we're doing so we don't always have to start over. So if there are good things that are happening, which there are in these different departments, it's important to be able to create a pathway for individuals either already in the departments and or providing opportunities for young people to come in as well. I think it's going to take, when you talk about reimagining, it means everyone has to have a seat at the table and be a part of that way of running the village.
Also, one of the things that, one of the mottos, the mantras even of our campaign is it's not about you, it's not about me, it's about Freeport. There's always going to be people who don't like you that you still have to work with. And part of being a mature adult and part of being a boss or a coworker that is effective is recognizing that even if I may not like you or you may not like me, I can respect the job you're doing. And we're not going to penalize or punish or clean house just because someone may or may not like us. That's ridiculous. Like that's literally some of the things we're trying to move away from. I have staff. I love most of my staff. I've had staff over the years where I've just been like, well, you're a great teacher, but like, I don't want to hang out with you. And to all my staff listening, I love you. But it's the same idea. You know, there's always people that you work with that you can say, you know what, I don't want to hang out with this person, but I recognize that they are doing a strong, contributive job. So that's one thing. The second thing that we do want to expand, and to build on what Donna said, is we want to expand that summer youth employment opportunity. We have positions for our kids, our teenagers, to work in the village in the summertime, but it's a tiny little program. That program should be it's 15. Yeah, 15. I hate to even say the number. I knew it was 15, but I didn't even want to say it out loud because it's so ridiculous.
Right.
We should have in
a
village.
I'm sorry, Dawn, but sometimes, you know, when the additional funding we had another 15 to match it, so we made it 30. Go ahead.
But I was going to say, you know, in a village of, you know, we're talking 50-some thousand people. You know, we're not really sure how many are here because of census issues. But the idea that we can only have, that I can count on my hands how many kids are working in the summer when other communities are able to add a lot more. I know when I was a teenager, I was able to work, and I easily knew 3 times as many kids that were my friends that were doing that. So the idea that it's all of these all or nothing is not what we're about. Like there's middle ground, there's respect for positions, there's respect for experience, but there's also respect for new and innovative ideas.
Yeah, Dexter, and that's something absolutely that has been plaguing the workforce at Village Hall. You know, the punitive reprimand, the screaming, the difference of talent. I've heard it loud and clear. And we're ready to come in and be open-minded and work and, you know, and say, listen, this is what we have. This is what we're going to do for the village. And talk about the reimagining. And as Dawn and Donna said, if you don't like me, it's okay. I know you're not going to like me. You don't like me already as it is. But you still have to respect the position and the office that you represent. I think that it's unique in its own way. And to the village workers that have been working so hard day in and out, Carmen Julia Piñeyro, appreciate each and every one of you for everything that you do. You know who you are, and trust that Alliance for Freeport will appreciate the work that you've done. I've heard you loud and clear. My running mates have had the opportunity to speak to you, and they've heard you loud and clear. And we'll look forward to listening to those all innovative ideas that you have to bring Freeport to the 21st century.
Well, you've heard it, and this has definitely been a TIME time on this evening. Many of you have been texting me. Many of you have been inboxing me, and you want to hear about this and you want to hear about that. They were on last week, and so if you want to hear about housing and homelessness, they answered those questions last week, and I did not want to be redundant. I wanted to move into an area that we weren't able to get into last week. So please go back and watch the live, watch the response. They have been solid. They have been thorough in their answers. And I am appreciative for them to come back and to share with us again on this week. One of the things that I did wanted to bring up that somebody mentioned are what are the number of votes that you are looking to receive, or can you explain the voting process and what that looks like, what is needed for a candidate to win? That was one of the questions that came in this week.
Sure. You know, I am a huge fighter for voting rights. Many of our ancestors lost their lives to make sure we had the right to vote. One of the things that Alliance for Freeport has been pushing is engaging our youth to make sure that they come out and listen, share with us their views, their ideas, but also to engage. Also, what we found out knocking on doors is that people feel that, you know what, my vote doesn't matter because after we vote, my street has potholes. You know, my block is still dark. It doesn't look good. But what I can tell you is this: we need each and every one of you to come out on March 16th from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. and vote Row B. How you are going to be able to do that? If you have an elderly parent or you don't feel comfortable going into the voting booth, you can call and request an absentee ballot. The governor has extended the COVID-19 related exemption to allow voters up to and including June 30th of this year to vote by absentee ballot. You can call us, you can reach out to any of us. You can actually go to our website, www.allianceforfreeport.com, and there's information there how you can download the form itself or call Village Hall and request it, or we can drop that off for you. There's 28,000 registered voters in the village of Freeport. We need about 4,500 to 5,000 votes in order to win this election. And the reason why this is it is because there's 3 candidates running for office. There's 2 opposing teams plus Alliance for Freeport. And we hope that we have answered every question, concern that you have. If we haven't, please reach out to us. We'll come to you. We are accessible. If you have any questions, we will answer them directly to you. Please don't listen to hearsay. There's a lot of that we've heard directly from you. Another of those things that we heard was, that the Alliance for Freeport doesn't care about South Freeport. That's not true. We care about all Freeport. But if you want to get more information on that, just come to us and we will tell you. But the polling locations are the same as the November election. I just want to remind the voters from is 45 Wallace. If you did not vote in the November election, your polling location is now located at the Freeport Recreation Center. The same happened with ED 18058, which if you voted at the 100 North Main Street, the senior building, now you also have been relocated to vote at the Freeport Recreation Center. You can, again, go to our website if you need a ride to the polling locations. We will be providing transportation and accessibility, because the matter is that we need everyone to come out and cast your vote. Your vote is the most important tool that you have to make history and to also change the trajectory and the future of this village. I think.
All right. There we have it. I mean, it's been a great moment. It's been a great evening, and we want to make sure that each of you are, thank you so much, Dawn. We want to make sure that each of you are coming out to vote. And I must say, for the record, because I'm very transparent to our community, that I am, of course, not on anybody's team or anybody's ticket. I have chosen to remain an advocate for who I think and what I think would be the best fit for Freeport. And I've said it publicly over and over again that I am not voting for a full ticket at all. I am voting for who I feel are the best persons that I think will represent Freeport. So I want you to know that in a few days, because we got about 16 to go, in a few days, I will be releasing who I feel. Once again, you are entitled to vote for whoever you want to and whoever you want to vote for. But me personally, in the work that I do in the community, the reason why I had these persons to come on is because normally we will go and hear them speak here. We will go hear them speak there. Some of us would not hear them at all. There's so many people in here thanking me for the opportunity to have these candidates to come on. People are chilling Sunday night, so it's a good opportunity to listen to a candidate. I want to make sure that I am fair in bringing every candidate to you. I'm not responsible for the ones who turned down my offer, but the ones who said that they would come, they have come. And I think that I have been a fair person. And I think this platform has been fair to everybody that has come on here to share their platform. So I need all of Freeport. Who did I say? All of Freeport to come out and vote March 16th. The reality is we vote for the national election or the official election, but then we forget about local elections. Everything that we need to make happen starts with the local election. And so I need the millennials, I need the baby boomers, I need the Gen Zs, the Gen X, and every other generation to make sure that you come out and vote. Now, I know, and I'm going to get in trouble for my I knows, but I know that there is absentee ballots. I know that you can mail them in. I know you can send them in. Listen, get yourself out the house, put your mask on and your gloves on, and go to the polls and vote. All right. Now, if you can't come out or whatever the case may be, and you want to do an absentee ballot, you know, my grandmother's 80 something, you know, so I understand. I get it. But I told her, if you can go across the street to the food store, then you can go to the polls to vote. If you can go check the mail at Freeport Post Office, then you can go out to the polls and vote. If you can go to your doctor's appointment where sick people go to get their medication, then you can go to the poll and vote. On March 16th, we don't want to have to wait a whole week to find out who the next mayor is. So if you can go to the polls, go to the poll and vote. I don't want to see you at Walmart and talk about you done did an absentee ballot, because I'm going to come for you. All right? Go to the polls. Everybody watching, put it in the chat. Go to the polls. All right? You at Gala, you at all these food places, and you shopping, and you doing this, and you doing that, and you want to send an absentee ballot in. No, you are wrong. You out of order. Go to the poll. All right. Now that was my
Dexter, I just wanted to add that if anyone wants to see, again, the candidates, the Stearns Park Civic Association will have their candidates forum March 9th. It's going to be through Zoom, and they can reach out to the Stearns Park Civic Association to find out more detailed information. My understanding is that all three teams have agreed to participate at that event. So it's a week before election, Tuesday, March 9th, I believe starts at 6 o'clock through the Stern Civic Association. So there will be another opportunity for you to be able to see all of us in action.
Wonderful. And we want to make sure that you are there. The people are loving this and commenting. The detailed response and innovative ideas shown that Carmen and the entire Alliance for Freeport has the experience to move Freeport in the right direction. Thank you so much, Carter. Harris, you've done a great job. Thank you so much, Anthony Miller. Awesome job bringing the candidates to this audience. Educating the voters is essential. Knowledge is indeed power. Thank you, Mr. Miller. Melissa is telling me to stop going off on my tangent. No problem. I just love the people. All right, vote. And Sandy, yes, got you. Everybody go vote. All right, I'm gonna give y'all 1 minute to give closing remarks, because we are way over time, and I want to thank you so much for being for coming on to this platform and being here with our people, with our community. This is the residents. I will always be pro Freeport. I would always be fighting and carrying on and running amok in a good way. As John Lewis would say, good trouble. I'm going to get in some good trouble for Freeport. So if you are elected and I get in good trouble, just remember me, that, you know, it's coming from the heart. It's coming from the heart, and all of that good stuff. So let's start with Tim. and then we go to Dawn, and then we'll go to Donna Raphael, and then we'll close this thing out with Carmen. Thank you once again to the community of Freeport. I appreciate you. Let us remember Mr. Kite and his family in our prayers. And March 16th is right around the corner, and I want to see you at the polls. Take it away, Tim.
Sure. Well, thank you, Dexter, for giving us this platform. Thank you for everyone watching on Sunday night. We really appreciate it. So you heard Carmen, Dawn, Donna, myself. We're the Alliance for Freeport. March 16th, vote that row B. We're going to be the change that you want and need for the village. Again, the same reason I'm running for village justice is the same reason the rest of the Alliance for Freeport is running for their positions. We're the younger, better, newer alternative to this village government. We're all living here. We're all raising our families here. We want the village to be the best place that it can possibly be, selfishly for our families, but we're going to make it good for your families as well. So listen to what we've said. We have a plan. We're going to make changes. We're going to push forward and really highlight Freeport's strengths, which is its diversity, its entrepreneurial spirit, support that immigrant community that we have is starting businesses in the village. And we're going to keep working on quality of life issues and really north, south, east, west, try to bring everyone together, use transportation, get people to the armory, get people to the rec center, get people to the mile, get people to wherever they can congregate and really make this one village. That's what the Alliance of Freeport is going to do for you. So row B on March 16th. Thank you very much.
Again, thank you very much, Dexter, for having us. We really appreciate it. Again, my name is Dawn de la Yera, and I am running for village trustee. And like Tim said, we are raising our families here. We are working here. We are facing the same challenges that our neighbors are facing. And we want to use that and represent all of Freeport, represent everyone who lives here and represent them the best that we can. We also want to take this time to be the change and be the modernization that Freeport needs, to understand the challenges that are facing all of us and then work together to provide some solutions to those challenges. We're not going to have all the answers. Nobody is. But we are going to at least try, and we are going to recognize that the challenges that our neighbors are facing are just as important as the challenges that our businesses are facing, and that the challenges that our businesses are important are just as important, just as important as the challenges our kids are facing and the parents, and to come all together to work, to modernize, to strengthen, to reimagine Freeport and bring it to where we all want to be, and it's a place we want to live in. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, Dexter. I really, really appreciate having this opportunity and this platform to be able to come before the residents, our neighbors, our friends and family. I like so many things that my teammates have said, I could also echo, and I just want to leave you with, the idea of just making sure that when everything that we do, this team is going to make sure that we are working with our youth, making sure that we're helping to amplify their voice, provide leadership, and also including them in the conversation. I think one of the most important things that might have been said here this evening, and if it isn't, if it hasn't, I would like to say, and that is that government is not just sitting behind a desk. It's also coming out and going out into the community and making sure that the community has an opportunity to have access to us, to be able to communicate with us, to be able to share with us some of their concerns, and also for us to be able to help them to be a part of how we establish policies and making sure that things are better for them and quality of life. Want to make sure that we're also absolutely paying respect to our seniors. On the north side, on the south side, the east and west, it's so important that this is one Freeport, that everyone has access in an equitable way. The most important thing, we talked about diversity, that's important. We talked about inclusion, that's also important, but making sure that when we are providing those opportunities, that it's a place and a space, safe space for every single person to be able to have access. And lastly, we want to just make sure that our families we are residents, we live here. I chose to not only live here, but to stay here, even after my children have been raised and have left. You know, as an empty nester, along with my husband, we want to be here and we want to stay here. And so the only way that we can do that is to help to provide an equitable and sustainable opportunity for the entire village of Freeport. And so we're looking for this to be a reimagined destination place, but also a place where our families can live and have a better quality of life. And I'd like to be a part of that. So on March 16th, Row B, Alliance for Freeport.
All right. And last but not least, now with Carmen, that must be your husband sitting next to you. I mean, because you just been smiling from ear to ear. Is that your husband sitting next to you?
No, it's my brother.
Oh, is that the campaign manager? He must be working it out.
Yep, he's working it out. He's making sure, you know, he's been trying to cheer me up today because, you know, we lost a Papa, Mr. Kite, father to many of us today. I know he will be watching over us for years to come. And once again, my condolences to the Kite family, to the Lady Devils family, to the entire community of Freeport. We have lost our town hero. We have lost who Freeport is. And who taught us to love and cherish this community with all of our heart. My name is Carmen J. Piñeyro. I'm running for mayor of the village of Freeport. I'm running with the Alliance for Freeport. Vote Row B on March 16th, 2021. I'm running for mayor of Freeport because we need to bring the community of Freeport to the 21st century. In addition to that, we need to make sure that we are able to walk at any time, whether it's 11 o'clock at night from Northeast Freeport all the way down to the nautical mile, back to Northwest Freeport, and feel that sense of safety. Make sure that while we're walking throughout our village, we're reimagining what else we can do to emphasize its uniqueness. You know, one of the visions that I see is taking those summer concerts from the Esplanade and bringing them to the Triangle on Sunrise Highway, bringing it to Northeast Park, Dr. Bishop O. Frank White Park, and from there, bringing it to Glacken Park on Northwest Freeport. One of the things that I've heard loud and clear from many of my seniors in Northeast Freeport is that, you know, we're still waiting for that bus that was supposed to take our children to the recreation center when it was built in the 1970s. I just want to make sure you understand I have been listening very closely. I've also listened to the many residents in South Freeport that tell me, you know, I wish that I can bring my jet ski to the Albany ramp and I have a problem because there's not enough space for me to get there or to easily disembark my boat. Those are things that many of us, some of us that live in North Freeport, may not be privy to because we don't own a boat. But the responsibility of a mayor is to make sure that we learn to appreciate the uniqueness and the beauty of each part of the incorporated village of Freeport. My name is Carmen Piñeyro. I'm looking to reimagine Freeport into the 21st century. I'm looking for your vote, not only for myself, but for my teammates, Donna Raphael, Don De La Guerra, and Team Stain for Village Justice. Together, we will be innovative and bring that change that our community so much deserves. And lastly, remember, I'm the child that the village raised. You've seen me be single on the Freeport Board of Education, get married, be pregnant while working a full-time job, and be a village trustee, and work in Albany and come back and make sure I deliver the necessities that our incorporated village of Freeport needs. As your next mayor, I'll make sure that I work 3 times as harder as I have been working the last 20 years to bring the funds, to bring the infrastructure and the change that the village of Freeport so much needs. Thank you very much. And please remember to come out and vote on Tuesday, March 16, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. at your regular polling locations. If you need a ride, please call us at our campaign headquarters, 516-690-6815. One more time, 516 690-6815, and we will gladly bring you to the polls. Thank you, Dexter, for having us here tonight, and I look forward to continuing to serve together with my running mate, the amazing village of Freeport, on March 16th.
All right. Thank you so much. I love that. I'm going to steal it. And I'm telling you right here on live, I'm the child Freeport raised. All right. If you hear me say it, I told you I was going to do it. All right.
You got it from me.
I got it from you. And we will not make sure that it was on record, live record, that I got this from Carmen, and I'm going to use it for my campaign whenever that is. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Carmen, Dawn, Donna, and Tim, for being with us. Thank you for sharing your platform 2 weekends in a row, your time. Thank you to your campaign manager who is sitting there yet cheering you on, and to everyone that is watching. They are row B. So if you like what you've seen tonight and last week, then I want you to definitely go out on March 16th and vote Alliance for Freeport, row B. B for beginning, B for
the best.
The best. Brightest. All the B's that you can think of that are good. That's them. And so I appreciate you. Thank you all for being with us. And I look forward to seeing you all soon. Be well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dexter. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. As you've already know, that we have definitely lost a tremendous leader in our community, in the persons of Mr. Kite. And so I am just overwhelmed, and just I don't even know what to say. It's hard. It's hard when you lose such a powerful man like this, and right here in Black History Month. And so we salute the life, the legacy of Mr. Kite. We salute his family. We salute the Board of Education, to all the schools that Mr. Kite has left a imprint on. He was a father to the fatherless. He was a mentor to the mentee. He was a teacher to the student. He was administrative like none other. But most importantly, he was a strong Black man who believed in giving of himself, who believed in, knew what it means to raise a village. This man not only raised his family, helped his family, supported his family, but he raised and supported the many countless families that needed a support. And so those of you that are watching, we're just going to take a moment of silence as we bid you all good night, as we remember the life, the legacy, and the love of Mr. Ernest Kite.